I think Agile has become so prevalent in the marketplace is because it is actually a way to work together as humans. It makes sense. We work together in small collaborative teams, we communicate together, we make decisions together, we're autonomous, we creatively solve problems. And I think businesses are starting to cotton on to that. The days of where we work in silos, where everyone just kind of gets work handed off to them, no longer makes sense, because now we're not having that communication and that feedback all the way across. When we have teams that are working in an agile way, and I mean the lowercase agile, where they're being nimble and responsive and quick and adaptive, we tend to generate results a lot faster and a lot sooner. And people, particularly in the finance sector, are cottoning onto that. Some of the advantages of the agile approach is having smaller teams working closely together, and that's the immediate thought that comes to mind. When you have smaller teams working together, what you tend to have is autonomy and empowerment of these teams to be able to figure out creatively, how do I solve this particular problem? And the particular problem, in most cases, tends to be a business-related problem. And when they do that, then what we have is we tend to get through problems or issues a lot quicker, because the feedback happens a lot more instant. And because it's a lot more instant, then we're able to adjust our course considerably. Some of the pitfalls of Agile is really not having the discipline to run the practices that are prevalent throughout Agile, or some of the practices that are prevalent to the particular flavor of Agile, such as Scrum or XP or Kanban. When we don't have that discipline, what we tend to have is a bunch of smells and people working together thinking that they're doing Agile, but in fact what they're doing is hovering around a whiteboard, having a meeting and drawing stuff on a whiteboard and moving colored stickies. They're not embracing the ideas of the values that we talk about in the Agile Manifesto, and they're not embracing the 12 principles which underpin those values. A scenario that comes to mind where Agile will be very advantageous would be where you would have a real competition in the marketplace. For example, finance. Finance is a big industry. There are a lot of competing players, and often it's about getting a product out to the market and being able to do that in a way in which satisfies customers, and to be able to get the product as quickly as possible to the marketplace. When you have that type of environment, Agile kind of makes sense, because you want to work small teams, collaboratively, solve the problem, get it out to market, test what happens, bring it back, and then repeat the process. And because we have that whole feedback loop going along quite quickly and tightly, that means we can adapt to what's happening in the market very quickly. One thing I can advise to organizations that are looking to adopt Agile is to really start thinking about Agile as in terms of your entire business. How do the values and the principles that exist with Agile, how can they work throughout your business? In other words, how can we deliver less with less? How do we become lean? How do we eliminate the waste that's in our processes and the way we work? How do we work together in which we can creatively solve a problem?